You know that feeling when you tell a joke and nobody laughs? Like that hollow, echoing silence where the punchline goes to die? Now, multiply that by about 150 wedding guests, a gallon of overpriced champagne, and the crushing weight of a friendship you've just apparently set on fire. That was me. Standing there, microphone in hand, my sequin dress suddenly feeling like a suit of armor made of pure shame. I mean, God, it was supposed to be funny. The champagne wasn't just champagne, it was liquid confidence, and I'd had a few glasses. The best man, some cousin of Olivia's I'd never met, had just finished his speech. It was painfully sweet, you know the type, full of sanitized anecdotes that sounded like they were lifted from a Hallmark card. The room was drowning in polite sentimentality, and I just felt like it needed a jolt. It needed a little spice, a little Zadie flavor. Aiden would get it. He always gets my humor. So I sort of sashayed up there, nudging the best man aside with what I hoped was a playful hip check, and grabbed the mic. The feedback gave a little squeal, which made a few people jump. Perfect. I had their attention. I gave the room my best charming, slightly too bright grin. Okay, settle down, I said, beaming at the head table. I just want to add one little thing. I paused for effect, winking at Aiden. We all know this guy. I gestured dramatically with the mic. Couldn't have survived the last 10 years without me around to save his ass, right? And then the silence. It wasn't just quiet. It was heavy. It had a physical weight to it, pressing down on the whole room. The clink of a single fork hitting a plate from a table in the back sounded like a gunshot. My eyes darted around, looking for an ally, a single person who got it. Nothing. Just a sea of blank faces, some confused, honestly, some looked angry. Then I made the mistake of looking at the head table. Aiden's face, God, it was like a mask. The smile he'd been wearing all night wasn't just gone, it was like it had been chiseled off, leaving behind something pale and tight. And Olivia, his new wife, her smile didn't just disappear, it shattered. I swear I could almost hear the sound. It broke into a million tiny pieces, and what was left was this polite, horrifyingly blank expression. In that horrifying, deafening void, I knew I had said something terribly, terribly wrong. I just had no idea what it was. It was a joke, wasn't it? See, Aiden and we weren't exes. I feel like that's what everyone thought in that moment, that this was some jealous ex-girlfriend thing, but it was never like that. We were something else. Something more, I always thought. Platonic soulmates, you know? He was my person. For 10 years, he was the constant in the absolute chaos that was my life. He was the guy I called at 3 a.m. when my car broke down 2 states away. He didn't ask questions, he just got in his car and came. He was the one who co-signed for my first apartment because my credit was a joke. He's the one who held my hair back after my 25th birthday party and then made me coffee the next morning without a single judgmental comment. He was just there. Always. Like the sun coming up. And I guess I treated him like that too. You don't wake up every morning and think, wow, I'm so grateful for the sun. You just expect it to be there, warming your life. That was Aiden. He was the foundation, the steady ground beneath my feet, and I was too busy dancing to ever look down and appreciate it. He was the ultimate sacrificial figure, and I let him be. I took everything he gave. His time, his energy, his unwavering belief in me even when I was at my most spectacularly unbelievable. And in our friend group, I had a role, too. I was the star. I was the entertainment, you know? The one with the wild stories from my terrible dates, the one who made everyone laugh until they cried, the one who wasn't afraid to say the crazy thing. I was the lead in our little sitcom, and Aiden was the lovable, dependable best friend, the one who sets up the punchline, the one who drives the getaway car. It worked. Our dynamic worked. Then he met Olivia. And she's fine, she's nice. She's pretty, she's a veterinarian, she's just so stable. And slowly, quietly, the ground started shifting under my feet. My emergency contact, my default +1, my midnight panic call guy, was building this whole other life. A life where I wasn't the co-star. A life where he didn't need me to create the drama because he finally had peace. And honestly, it felt like a betrayal. I know that sounds insane, but it felt like he was abandoning his post. So the wedding, it felt like the series finale. His series finale, and I was being written out. Standing there, watching him look at her with a kind of calm happiness I'd never seen in him before, I panicked. I honestly think I just panicked. I was losing my audience. I was losing my most important cast member. And I felt this desperate, ugly need to remind everyone, maybe I needed to remind myself, that our bond was the main story. That his new life was just a sequel to the story of us. The joke a god, the joke was supposed to be a callback, a little inside nod to our history. A way of saying, hey, don't forget me. Don't forget I was here first, holding it all together for you. But instead of sounding like a loving tribute, it came out sounding like I owned him. And I guess, in some horrible, selfish part of my brain, I really thought I did. The rest of the wedding reception was a masterclass in social death. It was like a switch had been flipped. The air around me grew cold. People who had been laughing with me at the bar an hour earlier now couldn't seem to meet my eyes. Their conversations would just trail off when I approached. I'd walk up to a circle of our friends, and they'd find a sudden, urgent need to go get another drink, or check on the gift table, or literally just walk away. It was so quiet, so polite, and 1,000 times more brutal than someone just yelling at me. I tried to fix it. I really did. I saw Aiden standing near the cake, talking to his aunt. I went over, my heart pounding this sick, heavy rhythm against my ribs. Aiden, I started, trying to make my voice sound light, breezy. Hey, that was just a bit, just me being me. He turned to me, and his face was just tired, exhausted, like he'd been running a marathon and I was trying to hand him another pair of shoes. Zadie, he said, and his voice was so low I could barely hear him over the music. Today, just for today, can we not? He didn't wait for an answer. He just turned back to his aunt, leaving me standing there feeling about 2 inches tall. My next brilliant idea was to talk to Olivia. I saw her by the dance floor, thanking some guests. I intercepted her, putting on my most sincere, apologetic face. Olivia, I am so sorry if that came out wrong. It was just a stupid joke between old friends. She looked at me, and her expression was perfectly composed. Not a hint of anger. It was something much scarier, a placid, impenetrable wall. Zadie, she said, her voice as smooth and hard as marble. I think Aiden needs to be with his family right now. And then she just smiled, a perfect hostess smile, and moved on to the next guest. She didn't dismiss me, she erased me. She made it clear that I was not family, I was just a problem to be managed. I couldn't take it. The stares, the whispers, the chilling politeness. It felt like the walls were closing in. I didn't even say goodbye. I just grabbed my purse from the table and practically ran out of the venue into the cold night air, my stupid sequin dress scratching at my skin. I got home, kicked off my heels, and just sat in the dark, replaying that one moment, that one stupid sentence, over and over again. The next morning, the real execution began. I woke up to a notification on my phone. Not a text, not a call, just the cold, automated message, "You have been removed from the group, the usual suspects." No explanation. No angry tirade from anyone. Just gone. Poof. 10 years of friendship, of inside jokes and shared histories, all deleted with a single click. The silence that followed was louder than any fight we'd ever had. The weeks that followed were empty. That's the only word for it. My phone, usually buzzing with plans and memes and gossip from the group chat, was silent. My weekends, once packed with brunches and game nights, stretched out into these vast, quiet deserts of time. I'd scroll through Instagram and see them all. A picture of them at our favorite bar, laughing. A group shot from a hiking trip we were supposed to take. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. It wasn't like they were trying to be cruel, posting it all. It was worse. They were just living their lives, and their lives simply didn't include me anymore. I hadn't just been kicked out. I had been rendered irrelevant. It was a systematic isolation, a quiet, collective shunning that felt more like a ghosting than a breakup. Finally, after 3 weeks of this agonizing silence, Casey texted me. Coffee, just that. Casey was always the Switzerland of our group, the gentle mediator. I jumped at the chance, my fingers fumbling as I typed back, yes. When? Where? We met at a little cafe we never used to go to, a neutral ground. She looked uncomfortable, stirring her latte over and over again like she was trying to solve a puzzle in the foam. So, I started, trying to sound casual and failing miserably. Am I officially a social pariah now? Casey sighed, finally looking up at me. Her eyes were full of pity, which was somehow worse than anger. Zad, it's bad, people are really hurt. It was a joke, Case, a stupid, drunken joke. Was it though? She asked, and her voice was so soft it cut right through me. Aiden doesn't think so. She took a deep breath. I saw him after you left the wedding. After everyone was gone, he was just sitting on the steps outside the venue. Crying. The word hit me like a physical blow. Crying. Aiden. Steady, unflappable Aiden, who I had seen cry exactly once before when his dog died. He told me, Casey continued, her voice dropping even lower. He said, I trusted her with everything. The ugliest, weakest parts of my life, when I was failing out of college, when my dad left, I told her things I've never told anyone. And she took all of that trust, all of that vulnerability, and turned it into a punchline. For a laugh. In front of my wife and my family. I just stared at her, my coffee forgotten. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't about the joke. It was never about the joke. It was about what the joke was made of. It was made of his trust, his pain, and I had sold it all for a cheap laugh that I didn't even get. Casey wasn't finished. And Olivia, she's not the villain here, Zad. She's protecting her husband. She told me, the man I married deserves to be honored by the people closest to him, not used as a prop in someone else's stand-up routine. Every word was a nail in the coffin of my self-delusion. I had spent weeks feeling sorry for myself, feeling angry and misunderstood. But sitting there, listening to Casey, I finally started to understand. I hadn't just made a gaffe. I had committed an act of profound betrayal. I had taken the most sacred parts of our friendship and desecrated them on a public stage for my own ego. And the worst part, I hadn't even realized I was doing it. Casey's words just shattered me. I went home, and the confused anger I'd been nursing for weeks just evaporated. It was replaced by this thick, choking fog of shame. I finally saw it. I saw the whole night, the whole last 10 years, through his eyes. I saw a man who had given me unwavering support and a woman who had repaid him by turning his deepest vulnerabilities into a party trick. In a fit of pure panic, I did what I always do when I'm spiraling. I started writing. I opened my laptop and just poured everything out into an email to Aiden. It was a mess, a long, rambling, pathetic mess. It was the epitome of confused regret. I read it over now and I just cringe. It was all about me. I can't believe this is happening, I wrote. I just feel so lost without you guys. I don't know what to do. I apologized, sure, but the apologies were buried under paragraphs of my own pain. I was just trying to be funny. I never meant for it to get this out of control. I can't lose you, Aiden. I can't lose my friends. It was a plea for forgiveness. That was really a plea for my own comfort. I was begging him to fix the mess I had made because I couldn't stand the consequences. I hit send before I could second guess it, and then I spent the next 3 days in a state of suspended animation, jumping every time my phone buzzed. The reply came on a Tuesday morning. It wasn't an email. It was a text. My heart leaped into my throat when I saw his name on the screen, but the message itself was clinical. It was like a corporate rejection letter for my soul. It said, Zadie, I received your email. Thank you for sending it. I need to build a new life for myself now, one that doesn't have this kind of drama. I need that for Olivia, and I need it for me. I wish you all the best. That was it. I wish you all the best. The 4 most polite, devastating words in the English language. It wasn't an angry go to hell. It wasn't a heartbroken how could you. It was a door being quietly, firmly, and permanently closed. He wasn't fighting with me. He was done with me. He was cutting me out, not with a jagged knife, but with a surgeon's scalpel. A clean, precise, and utterly final severance. And I knew, reading those words, that there would be no appeal. 6 months later, I got an invitation to Casey's 30th birthday party. It was a group text. My name was on the list, sandwiched between all the others. For a second, a stupid little spark of hope flickered in my chest. Maybe this was it. Maybe enough time had passed. Maybe this was the peace offering. I was an idiot. It wasn't an offering. It was a test of my social endurance, and I failed spectacularly. The moment I walked into the crowded bar, I knew I had made a mistake. It was my own personal circle of hell. Everyone was there. And everyone was perfectly, excruciatingly polite to me. They'd say, "Oh, hey Zadie, how have you been?" With bright, meaningless smiles, and then their eyes would immediately dart over my shoulder, looking for anyone else to talk to. I was a ghost at the feast. Then I saw them. Aiden and Olivia were holding court in a booth in the corner, surrounded by our friends. His friends, they were all laughing at something he'd said. He looked happy, lighter. He wasn't carrying the weight of my chaos anymore, and it showed. Olivia leaned in and whispered something in his ear, and he smiled and kissed her. It was so easy, so natural. Our eyes met across the room, just for a second. He saw me standing there, alone, clutching a drink I didn't want. And he did the most brutal thing he could have possibly done. He raised his glass to me, gave me a small, polite nod, a gesture you'd give a stranger who let you merge in traffic, and then he immediately turned back to his wife, back to his friends, back to his life. There was no anger in his eyes, no lingering resentment. There was nothing, and that was the whole point. I was nothing to him now. I was a closed chapter, a historical footnote. I stood there in the corner of that loud, happy party, my drink getting warm in my hand, and I finally understood. They hadn't just moved on. They had rebuilt their entire world, brick by happy brick, and the foundation of that new world was the space where I used to be. I wasn't just kicked out of the group. I was the thing they had to remove to become whole.